Assalamu alaikum. I hope you all are fine and doing well. So in last class we have discussed in last week in last classes, two classes, I think 2-3 classes, we have discussed the export and import on a practical basis from neighbor countries, Pakistan, Bangladesh and India. We have discussed how much is their export, how much is their import, which country they are exporting, and from which country they are importing a lot. Today I want to discuss another most important topic in international business, which is international risk management. Overall, this topic is related to the tax system. What is the tax system for foreign companies if you are investing in another country? So as we have discussed, as a manager, as an international expert, or as a person responsible for developing a business in another country or starting a business in another country, you need to consider the cultural issues, which we have discussed in full detail. What are the cultural issues? You need to consider their rules and regulations. You also need to consider their tax system, how much is their tax regarding their percentage. You need to consider their currency exchange rate as well, the fluctuation of their currency. Especially developing countries are facing, like, their currencies are not stable as developed world, like which is Japanese yen or dollars or euro. These countries are not stable, so you need to consider this system as well. So overall, when you are investing in another country, you need to do what we have discussed in market analysis. You need to do the market analysis. Basically, when you are applying models like PEST model or PESTEL or any other model you are applying for foreign country, these are the reasons. So you are analyzing each and every single point. You are analyzing the positive and negative points regarding the businesses, regarding their issues there. You are analyzing all the aspects of a business. So it depends. Then once you have analyzed, once you have evaluated, once you have done the critical analysis of the country, then you decide, is it in the favor of the business to invest or not? Is it important? Is it okay, or is it fine to invest or not? So are you after that, there might be, like, you might have advantage in availability of resources like labor and land, but their tax system might be higher compared to other countries, so the overall cost might be more than other countries. So they might have a low tax in a country, they might have a very low income tax, but their labor wage will be higher. The rent, transportations, rules and regulation of the government might take more time. They might ask you more documents. Everything might be fine, but still they will ask you to, you are not allowed to do 100% investment. You need to, let's say you are only allowed, foreigners are only allowed to do 49% 50%. It can be a foreigner, or less than that. It needs to be they needs to have their own citizen as well in a partnership. So that's why you need to consider all these points in while doing businesses and in a country. So you need to consider their level of education, you need to consider their religious matters, you need to consider their social value and norms, you need to consider their religious identity, you need to consider their system they are following it. Sorry, you need to consider their currency, you need to consider the availability of resources, you need to consider the documents they need, you need to consider the process in which you can get the license, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 1 year. You need to consider the benefits for long-term purposes. For example, in United Kingdom, if you are investing, if they provide you a business visa, I think they give you 2-year visa for the first time. If you are having, I think is around 250,000 pound. If you are having that much money, you can apply for a business visa to United Kingdom. especially many Iranians and other people have applied and they have got visa, but I'm not sure for Afghans what's happening for us. But you need I'm talking regarding their business visa. Once they give you 2-year visa and everything was fine, after 2 years they give you 3-year visa. So after 3-year visa they give you permanent resident. That's it. So you are not anymore staying with the business visa, you will be staying with the permanent resident. Then after permanent resident, after 5 years you can apply for British passport. So that's a long-term strategic goal. So if you are, for example, if you spend the same amount of money in Dubai and United Arab Emirates, that's it, you just get 2 visas, that's it. If you spend 20 years 30 years in Dubai, you will still stay with the same passport, with the same visa. They will not give you a permanent resident. So that's why recently you see that many investors or many businessmen, they are trying to invest in Turkey to get a passport and to get their family there, because they are having Turkey has many facilities. For example, free education for your kids. In Dubai and in United Arab Emirates, you are spending a lot of money on education, free healthcare. In this country you are spending a lot of money on healthcare. So that's why Turkey is providing more opportunity for foreigners, for foreign direct investment to come and invest. If you are investing around $250,000, in 3 months they give you and your family a passport of Turkish passport, which you can travel around 119 countries or 100 without having visas, and your kids can study, your children freely, free education and free healthcare. So that's why now many businessmen have moved from Dubai. They have taken some of their investment to Turkey. So because in the future, from future perspective, if you can see, it's very good because it's stable. You cannot just stay in Dubai. Maybe after 5-6 years they tell you, please leave our country. That's it. So what you have? Nothing. So in Turkey you are having a passport. So when you are investing, for example, if you are having $250,000, then you see, okay, we have, for example, 2 options or 3 options: Malaysia, Dubai, in Turkey. So then you do the analysis, which one I need to choose, which one is good, where is my income. Also you need to do their profit, what type of business is profitable, in which country it is profitable. If it's the same type of profit you get, and you get the extra services in other country. For example, you might have a same business in Dubai, but they don't give you permanent resident, they don't give you passport, they don't give you passport for your family, you just need to stay with the visa. Then you will have the same business in Turkey with all some extra facilities. Then you think, okay, Turkey might be better. So that's why you see recently thousands of people, millions or billions of dollars have been invested in Turkey, in construction, in housing, in different business. Why? They provide facilities. Even if you invest $20,000, they give you visa, so you can just stay there with the visas if you want to stay with visa. But if you want to take passport, you need to invest over $250,000. So that's all what you do when you are considering doing your international business. Then you can consider their culture, norms and values, which we have discussed. You need to consider which culture they follow, their religious, their language barrier, different things. So you need to consider all these points while investing in other. So from international risk management, as I have said, so you need to consider their currency, their tax system and many other points. So let's see what is international risk management. International business and financial decision making requires an understanding and consideration of risk factors. In fact, both domestic and international business involve risk due to uncertainty of amount of gains that will be available from business project. Added to this, foreign investment involves a number of unique risks which would affect international finance immediately in the international business at a later stage. These risks include political risk. So we have to, as you can see, if your a country is not politically stable, and there you don't know, there is many uncertainties, you don't know what will happen after one government goes, especially Afghanistan, Pakistan, in these third world countries are having these issues because a political system is not stable. You don't know what will happen after the election, you are not sure. So when you are having such risk, it is very hard for foreign investor to invest in these type of countries, because they don't know. They say, okay, if I spend $1 million, if this government go and another government come, there is a corruption, there is for example, you need to have a reference, you need to see you need to know high ranking government officials, so there might be a conflict between each other, there might be issues that we are having in our elections. So these are affecting foreign direct investments, because they know that it's not stable. But if the government is stable, for example, one party goes, another party comes, that's it. Anyone who won the election, they come and they take over the government, everything still remain the same. But there might be certain policies that the new government come, but there is no any other chance of instability or fighting or any other problem or corruption issue, or they might close the business, or these issues. So commercial risk, then exchange control restriction on company remittances, then differing tax system, source of funds, exchange rate fluctuation. So restriction on companies, where in some companies, in some countries, there is a restriction. For example, they say if any foreign company want to invest in our country, they cannot take back 70% or 60% of their investment back, their machinery, their building, everything. So this is a type of rules that some countries are having. Differing tax systems, so we have discussed that you need to have a different, you need to consider their tax system, how much they are charging, how much is their tax system, how much is their percentage, at what rate, source of fund, from where they get money. So that's very important. They need to have a local source. So is it 100% investment, or 50% are from local investor, 50% are from foreigners? So what are the source of fund for the investment? So from where you can get the money. In some countries you can buy anything 100% on your name, but in some other countries you cannot buy everything on your name. You need to go under another system which is having, nowadays they are trying to take over this, Saudi Arabia, which they call it kafil system, where you can work under a person who have a Saudi citizenship, a person who is a resident of that country. You cannot do the business, you need to do under him. There are many problems families or businessmen are facing. They have lost all their money, everything, because of issues, because of problems that they have faced regarding this. So now I think Saudi Arabia have decided to take over this system and allow foreigners to come and invest 100%. They are planning to, nowadays they are planning to build a city without roads or without cars, so for environmental issues. And they are also planning for 2030 vision, like in next 9 years they want to build a city by name of Noam on Red Sea. So they are planning to do this. So they ask all the foreigners to invest. For certain countries they are still having certain restrictions or issues. So for certain countries they will be having problems, they will have face different issues. So let's discuss commercial risk. The business house estimated demand for product and services in foreign countries before actually making investment. Decline in demand due to decline in income. So you see there are commercial risk, their income might decrease of people, their economic growth, as I have said, you need to consider GDP in last 5-6 years. Is it still growing? The GDP is increasing. For example, in 2015 Afghanistan growth rate was, for example, 2%, next year 3%, next year it goes 3.54, it goes up and up and up every year. So it will show that the income of a consumer are increasing because their GDP and GNP are in growth rate, so in growth stage. So that's why then the demand for certain product will not be declined, because people will have money. But if their income decreases, definitely the demand will decrease. So if income decreases, definitely the demand for certain product will go down, because people cannot buy, not be able to buy new products or latest product. In 2000 in 2008, the financial crisis which hit Europe, many industries have suffered, like automobile industry, because no one were purchasing new cars, so they were not interested to buy new cars. Why? Because everyone was suffering financially, they were facing problems. So the automobile industry has suffered a lot. So if you are investing in automobile, in the income of consumer, decrease, definitely their product will be decreased as well. So decline in demand due to cultural variations. So you see some culture changes or cultural problems, the demand will decrease. And another decline in demand due to domestic products. So that's another due to change in the customer taste. So customer might like one thing, or they might not like it after 1-2 years. So their customer taste have changed. So these are commercial risk which you need to consider in international business. Exchange control restriction on company remittances. In the Taiwan government imposed the restriction that the MNC should not take more than 75% of their asset back. So they are not allowed to take their asset backs, so they need to leave it for that country. 75, not more than 75%. For example, say they can take 75%, they can only take it, for example, 75% or 70%. The remaining needs to be, for example, if you are having $1 million, you can only take 750. Remaining 250,000, you need to put it back, leave it to that government or to that country. So these are things which was before. Now most as international trade and has increased between countries, most countries are trying to have fair trade and are trying to attract more foreign direct investment, so they are planning more. So such restrictions are called exchange control restrictions on remittances. The parent company should consider these issues while investing in foreign countries. So if you are investing in foreign countries, as I have said, you need to consider cultural issues, you need to consider these points, that how much investment you can take it back if you failed in that country, or if you want to take out your investment, how much resources are available there, their customer taste, level of income, their GDP growth rate, their GDP, their GNP, everything you need to consider, their new policies, their government restrictions, visa policies, especially for developing countries. It's very hard. If you invest, how can you take visa? That's the main important thing. How many months it will take, the visa procedures, will they give you a visa or not, or it will be just a waste of time? Because developing countries or third world countries are very different compared to other countries. Other countries, they are having a strong passport, they can travel without visa, they can invest there, and that's it, they can start their company without applying for visa, waiting for interview and all these things. So for developing countries, for example, if Afghan national want to go and invest in Turkey, so it takes you months, 2-3 months for your business visa to be issued, or you need to know someone, or all these issues, you need to pay money, or these corruption issues. If you want to invest in, for example, in UK, you are having, for example, $500,000 in university to invest in UK, you have to apply for a business visa. I'm not sure they are issuing it in Kabul. You have to go to Delhi or Islamabad to apply for your business visa, and all these traveling cost, your time, everything. So these are issues which you need to consider before, especially for you guys. But for others, countries, it's very easy, especially they get visa easily. So such restrictions, so before investing in these type of countries, before investing, you need to be very, very careful regarding this point. If you are a responsible person and you are making a plan, investment plan, foreign direct investment plan in another country, you need to consider their each and every single point, their visa system, their visa fees, their tax system, even if you are living there, expenses, everything. So that's another issue. Differing tax system. China imposed only 5% tax on income of foreign companies established in there. It's a special export zone, where Indian tax rate is more than that applicable to domestic companies. So their domestic company, foreign companies, are much more higher than China. UK's tax rates are higher than those of USA. So UK has more tax system. In construction, when you are building your house, there is 60%, 40% tax. For example, if you need to pay, if you are having, let's say, investing $100,000, 40,000 goes to the government tax. So it's not a small amount. So that's another. Therefore, the business manager, in fact, net income of foreign subsidiary is taxed higher than that of domestic companies. So therefore, the business manager has to select the best country where these risks are low. So you see, recently, I think in last few years, Ireland was the best destination as far as tax is concerned. They had a very low tax in whole Europe. I don't know how much percent was that, but it was very, very low. Dublin city, I think their capital, mostly Facebook and other foreign other companies, their headquarter was, they issued their tax system in Ireland, because they had a very low tax rate. I don't know, it was around 2% or 3% compared to other European countries. Their tax system, their tax were very, very low, very, very low compared to these countries. So that's why most companies have moved there and issued their statement. So you need to consider the tax system as well. Source of funds. So Malaysia encouraged the foreign companies to mobilize funds from the local capital market, where Eritrea imposed the condition that 50% of the capital of the MNC's subsidiary should be provided by the local investor. In fact, Indian government also imposed such a condition, but liberalized it recently. So India, before it was restriction, you cannot invest more than 50%. So you need to only invest 49%. The rest needs to be an Indian. Like, you need to have a partner. So after, in many years, they have reformed this system, and they have said, no, we need to allow foreigners to invest 100%. Eritrea, they are also having a system of 50%. So they want to this is a very big discussion, that government, they don't want to depend on other countries, especially Malaysia. Chinese were planning to buy most of Malaysian buildings. Top buildings were Chinese. Still, it's Chinese, but when Mahathir came in, they saw that Chinese are taking them because it's like a monopoly system. Your whole construction building belongs to a specific country. Whatever they ask you, then you don't have options. It's called financial trap. You don't have a system because they will say, okay, we want to take out all our investment, so the construction business will go down, houses will decrease the price, everything. So it will make a very big chores or a big problem in that country. So after that, I think when Mahathir Mohamad came in Malaysia, they said no more Chinese are allowed to buy, no more Chinese are allowed to buy buildings or apartments in Malaysia, especially Kuala Lumpur city. So they have restricted it to certain degree, that for example only 20% are allowed, 30% are allowed. So they don't want to specifically depend on certain countries. For example, in Afghanistan, if a country come and invest all in mining or in construction companies or in electricity, a single country, so then you will see, okay, whatever they say, then it's this type of restriction or trap. But it depends on government policies, how much foreigners are allowed to invest in a country, how much person in an industry, how many, whatever. So they depend on their policies in government advantages. They say, okay, only foreigners are allowed to 50% investment, 60%, 70%, 100%. But in certain industries, in certain industry it might be 50%, in certain industry it might be 100%. It depends on national interest, and it depends on mutual interest of businessman in a country. So you cannot just give 100% interest for a businessman, then you need to consider the interest of the country as well, what benefit the people in that country gets from the investment, what benefits the government get, what's the long-term benefit for the country. So that's all regarding their investment. So from where you get investment, how is your investment system. So that's why it's important to consider the source of fund as well. So that's why you need to be very careful how much person you can invest on 100%. Can you invest 100%, or you need to wait, you need to invest 50%, you need to share other Indian or someone else with yourself. So exchange rate fluctuation, it's quite common that the exchange rate fluctuate very often. The fluctuation are mostly in the favor of hard currencies in the advanced countries, and the risk is more in case of developing countries. Therefore, the MNC should take into consideration the risk of exchange rate fluctuation while investing in developing countries. So if you are investing in developing countries and you are not sure, if you are not sure regarding their currencies, it's not stable. One day it's $1, for example, 100 Afghani, and other 77 in other dates, for example 50 or 80. So it's not stable. So that's why it's very important, you need to consider this as well. So that's all overall exchange rate. I think that's it. So let me review what we have discussed. As I have discussed cultural issues in all these and other slides in full details, you need to consider when you are investing in foreign countries, when you are investing in other countries, it's very important to be very careful regarding these factors: political risk, commercial risk, exchange control risk, restriction on a company, belongings, whatever is there. So that's another differing tax system, source of fund, and exchange rate fluctuation. So you need to consider all these risks before investing in another country. You need to be very careful regarding this point when you are investing in other countries. So commercial risk we have discussed, exchange rates, differ tax system, and other. So that's it. So see you inshallah in next week. Thank you very much.